Hey guys, I'm Umbles Data, and welcome to another review. This time we have Breaking Bad Season 5, Episode 9, Blood Money. That's right, the season break is over. We're finally down to the last couple episodes of Breaking Bad. But how did the return do? How did, after all this waiting for these final episodes to come, how did it actually turn out? The first episode, well, I have to say it actually was very satisfying. Everything that, that was leading up, that you had answers, finally had answers to all these questions that we didn't know, and they were answered right away. And spoilers, obviously, I'm going to talk about the episode, so if you haven't seen it, watch it and come back. But spoilers right now, like I'm serious. Don't listen if you haven't seen it. But anyway, like they reveal right away that Hank finds out that Walt is Heisenberg, like right away, and it's very interesting that they didn't drag it out, which most shows would do. But no, they got right to the point. By the end of this episode, Hank knows. And there's a lot of tension between that. And the ending scene was amazing off this episode. And I have to say that many times when shows come back from break, especially a mid-season break, the first episode usually sucks. It usually does, because it's just like filler almost. This episode, great episode, a lot of tension, had the dark tone that Breaking Bad is known for. It had some funny moments with Badger and Skinny Pete. It was great. All around, it was like a normal episode of Breaking Bad. Everything we've come to love, this episode kept it up. So let's get right into the episode. Right at the beginning, something very interesting happened. We seen a flash forward of later in Walt's life. He had a beard grown out, like his whole face, his hair, everything. So it looked like way in the future. His house is run down, everything's destroyed. He walks in, and Heisenberg is spray painted on his walls inside, and everything's like broken, run down. So obviously everyone knows that he's Heisenberg, obviously, so that's really crazy. And he goes to one of the outlets in the wall, unscrews it, and he gets the ricin that he hid there before in the previous previous episodes. We don't know anything else what happens there, but very similar to what happened last season when they first premiered. They had this flash forward, we didn't know what was happening, same thing. Really cool, so we obviously know that the word's out, he's Heisenberg, but how it happened, we don't know. He's still alive, obviously, so what's going to happen, we have no clue, but very interesting. So now we go to the present, and Hank comes out of the bathroom right where we left off from before, and he puts the book that he found with WW in it in his bag, and he leaves right away, saying, I'm sick, blah, blah, blah. So, leaves right away with his wife, and they're driving, Hank's driving home, and he has like a panic attack or something like that, and he starts like hallucinating, and he just crashes, and he doesn't know what's going on. So they don't know what happened to Hank, but it's probably just a panic attack or something. But obviously he's like furious of what happened because he thinks that Walter is actually Heisenberg, which is what everything's leading up to. So then Hank, he goes home, he pulls out some files, and it's everything he has on Glenn, the assistant that Jesse killed. And basically he suspects wrote in this book, and obviously he's right, but he compares the writing, because he has stuff from the crime scene when he was killed of his writing, and he compares it, and it's a perfect match. So basically Hank knows, yeah, Walter is Heisenberg. So now we go to a scene where Walter and Skyler are at their car wash, and this was a very interesting little part for me. It kind of separated all the seriousness of it, and it's basically just them trying to live a normal life. And it's like almost like Walter thinks, I killed a bunch of people, I did all this bad stuff, but it's behind me now, let's just live a normal life. That's basically what that scene was saying to us. And, it fails because his past keeps on biting him. So Walter wants to open another car wash, he wants to buy another one, to launder the money even faster. Then, all of a sudden, Lydia shows up, and Lydia is the woman that provided the methylene for them, and, was in cahoots with them and doing all, like, the meth stuff. So, she shows up, and she says she wants Walter to come back and cook again, because the product is down, and, all this stuff, please help me. She's, pleading with Walter, we need you. He says, no, right away, I'm not doing it, I'm out. And he even tells Skyler. Skyler comes up to Walt and says, who was that lady? She says, there's a former business employee that wants me to come back. But I said, no. Skyler goes right out and asks her to leave immediately, like really angry. So it's very interesting to see that Skyler obviously knows that Walt was dealing meth and all this stuff before. But it seems like she's okay with it now. Like, it's just like, yeah, we have all this money, blah, blah, blah. She's basically helping now with this thing. And it's very interesting because Hank now knows that he's Heisenberg, that Walter's Heisenberg. Is he going to confront Skyler, and what's her reaction going to be now that she's basically helping, like, with this meth business and stuff like that, laundering the money? It seems like she's okay with it. So that's going to be interesting, too, to find out how she reacts. Yeah, so then she leaves right away. So then all of a sudden these detectives come to Hank's house and they bring him a bunch of files, and it's all the files on everything they have on Gustavo, basically everything that they have on Heisenberg, and anything and everything, boxes and boxes of files. So we see this little montage of him pulling out all the files, all these pictures, and it's basically recapping everything that happened in the whole series of Breaking Bad. It showed when they first stole the methylene, bunch of stuff with Gus, Mike, everything. So it's kind of cool to see like a recap of everything. And it was like, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, that's good. Like it was just kind of cool how they did that. So then we go to Jesse's house, and Badger and Skinny Pete are there, and they start talking about Star Trek. And I'm a little bit of a Trekkie, and it was just weird. It was straight up weird, but it was funny, and it was breaking up all the seriousness of it, obviously. But Jesse looks really out of it. He's not even talking to Badger or Skinny Pete, and he's like, he doesn't look like he's having fun or anything. It's basically like he looks like he has nothing left to live for almost. So he leaves, and he goes to Saul. And so Jesse wants to give all the money that he gave in the last episode that Walt gave him. It was like $5 million. He brought it to Saul, and he wants to give his money away to his ex and Mike's granddaughter. Now, why would you think this? He wants to give all his money that he earned? Well, he thinks it's blood money, and he doesn't feel good having it at all. And this comes up again in a little bit later. So Saul, after Jesse leaves from Saul immediately calls Walter, and Walter tells him, no, hold the money, don't give it away, just hold it. So then Walter goes to Jesse's house and brings back all the money. And this is where Jesse says, it's a blood money, I don't want it, blah, blah, blah. And it's really, like, eating him away, because you can tell it, like, even in his eyes. It's great acting, by the way, and great acting, nonetheless, the whole episode. But you can see that Jesse's really, like, it's really eating away at him. It's like, really hurting him inside. Like, I can't do this anymore, basically. And he, at the beginning of the show, he's like, yeah, I want to do this, blah blah blah, I'm gonna get right into it. But right when he's actually in it and he's like the top, he realizes that this isn't good. Like, you're hurting a bunch of people, killing a bunch of people, affecting all this stuff. He can't handle it anymore, and this is just like the cherry on top, this blood money that he just does not want. So Walter gives him this big speech and says, stop focusing on the darkness behind you, we're both out, we can live normal lives. And then Walt says, why do you want to give money to Mike's granddaughter? Like, well, what's up with that? And Jesse says, I think Mike's dead, and I want to give her the money so she can, all the money that Mike was saving for her, I want to give her the money. And Walt says, no, he's alive, I seen him go away. And obviously he drive away in the sunset, and Walt's lying straight to Jesse's face. But I don't think Jesse really believes it. And he says, oh, okay, blah, blah, blah. But you can still see in his eyes, I don't think he actually believes Walter this time. And obviously Walter's lying because Walter killed Mike in a couple episodes back. So, yeah, more lying. I don't think this is going to lead to anything good. I think Jesse's going to find out the truth, and then that's going to lead to even more conflict with Walter and Jesse. Meanwhile, Walter is already having this huge conflict with Hank. So, we'll see where that goes. So then we see Walter, and he's still getting chemo, and it's making him sick. So he goes and he throws up. And a really good point that I seen someone bring up on Twitter, so I'll just share it with you, is when Walt throws up in the toilet, he puts a cloth down on his knees before he throws up. Gus did the same thing in last season, I think. It's interesting that they both did that, because it's like saying Walt is basically turned into Gus, and you can see that there's a lot of similarities now. Like, Walt is basically a full-blown villain. Before, he was like an anti-villain, kind of borderline, but he's a villain now. You can see that, and he's slowly turning into Gus. It's very interesting to see that. So when he's at the toilet, and he realizes that the book is missing that Glenn gave him, so then he starts kind of panicking a little, and he starts looking for bugs everywhere late at night, and he finds one on his car. Very similar to the one Hank had him put on Gus's car. So obviously he thinks it's Gus. So then Jesse's sleeping. We go to another scene, and Jesse's sleeping in his car at just like a parking lot, and a homeless guy comes up to him, and he's like, can you spare change, sir? And Jesse's like, you know what, here. And he just gives him a bunch of money from like the $5 million he had. And he just starts driving down his road and just not his road, but just driving down the road, starts throwing money just out the windows to every house. That's crazy. Imagine you live there and you just see this wad of money. Come on. But obviously he just can't handle this, having this blood money. He feels really guilty. He just wants to get rid of it. That's basically what he's doing. So now we go to the last scene of this episode, and Walter goes and visits Hank. And so then Hank scrambles around. He's like, puts the files all away and everything. He's like, oh, how are you doing? You feeling better now? And obviously Hank was just pretending to feel sick so he can look up more stuff. But then Walter just brings out the tracker, and he's like, I seen this, and like, what is this all about? Then Hank just closes the garage door, because they're in the garage. Right when the garage door closes, he just punches Walter right in the face. One punch. That was all the fighting in this episode. One punch. And that garage door, when it closed, very, very, it's just going to be a signature moment. I can tell, just the look on Hank's face was great acting all around. It's just crazy, that part where I didn't expect him to just punch him. I thought they were going to talk it out for a little. Punches Walter right away. And he's furious right now, Hank. And he just, it's you all along. And Walter seems really calm. He's not going to admit straight out that he's Heisenberg. He says, listen to yourself. These are wild thoughts. What are you thinking? And he says, you know what? My cancer's back. What good is this going to be? I'm a dying man. Even if you prove that I am Heisenberg and bring me to court, I'm going to be dead by the time you do that. So, that's pretty crazy. He's bringing up all these points, but he's not directly saying, yeah, I'm Heisenberg. And, he's saying, what's the point? He's like, well, and if you don't know who I am, because Hank says, I don't even know who you are anymore. Walter says, if you don't know who I am, I would suggest that you tread lightly. Crazy, and it just ends with a shot going back. That's crazy episode. I couldn't ask for anything better. That last scene was really intense, really crazy. Overall, a great return to Breaking Bad. Cannot wait for the last 7 episodes now, and I don't even know where this is gonna go. I hope that every episode following is just as good as this one, because this one did not disappoint. But what did you guys think? Leave it in the comments below. Did you love this episode? Did you hate it? Any questions? Go ahead and fire away. So I just want to say thank you for watching, guys. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at UnblessedData, and I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.